Hello everybody, welcome to my channel.
Mary Tyler Moore, 1936 to 2017, was an American actress, producer, and cultural icon whose work reshaped television and broadened the portrayal of women in media. Best known for her roles on The Dick Van Dyke Show and The Mary Tyler Moore Show, she became a symbol of intelligence, independence, and modern womanhood during a period when female lead characters were rarely shown pursuing careers or personal growth on their own terms. Early life and career beginnings. Mary Tyler Moore was born on December 29, 1936, in Brooklyn, New York, and raised primarily in Los Angeles. Her first major break wasn't in acting but in advertising. She appeared as the dancing, happy Hotpoint elf in television commercials during the 1950s. She pursued television acting soon after, landing small guest roles until her big opportunity arrived. Breakthrough: The Dick Van Dyke Show, 1961 to 1966, Moore's portrayal of Laura Petrie, the witty and stylish wife of a television comedy writer, made her a household name. She brought a realism and spark to the character, pushing for more natural dialogue and advocating for her character to wear fashionable capri pants instead of typical housewife dresses. Her work earned her multiple Emmy Awards and made her one of TV's most beloved performers of the decade. A cultural shift: The Mary Tyler Moore Show, 1970 to 1977. Moore's most influential achievement came when she starred in and co-produced The Mary Tyler Moore Show. Her character, Mary Richards, was a single, career-focused woman working as a television news producer, a groundbreaking concept at the time. The show tackled topics like workplace discrimination, equal pay, and women's autonomy while blending sharp comedy and heartfelt storytelling. It became one of the most celebrated sitcoms in television history, winning a record number of Emmy Awards and helping launch the careers of stars and writers who would shape American comedy for decades. Film work and later career: Moore proved her dramatic abilities with her Oscar-nominated performance in Ordinary People, 1980. Playing a mother grieving the loss of her son while struggling emotionally. Throughout her career, she continued acting on stage and screen, and maintained a presence as a respected figure in the entertainment world. Advocacy and personal life beyond acting: Moore became a passionate advocate for diabetes research after being diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in her 30s. She served as the international chair for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, JDRF, and testified before the U.S. Congress to increase funding for medical research. Legacy: Mary Tyler Moore passed away on January 25, 2017, at the age of 80. Her legacy lives on in several ways. Television pioneer: she transformed the way women were seen on TV. Independent, ambitious, and relatable. Comedy powerhouse: her shows influenced generations of sitcoms and comedic performers. Humanitarian: she raised millions of dollars in awareness for diabetes research. Moore was more than a television star. She became a cultural touchstone, remembered for her grace, humor, and determination. Through her work, she helped shift American culture, opening doors for future generations of women on and off screen. Early aspirations and entry into entertainment: Mary Tyler Moore was the daughter of George and Marjorie Moore, part of a Catholic family with modest means. When she was a teenager, she dreamed of becoming a dancer, not an actress. She studied ballet and briefly considered pursuing a professional dance career. That dream shifted after she began appearing in TV commercials, her first break being the happy Hotpoint ads that aired during the Ozzie and Harriet show. These ads showcased her grace and comedic timing, traits that would later define her career. Moore's earliest acting roles were small parts in shows like Richard Diamond, Private Detective, where only her legs and voice were shown on screen. Even then, her charisma was impossible to ignore. The Dick Van Dyke Show, a new kind of sitcom wife when producer Carl Reiner cast Moore as Laura Petrie in The Dick Van Dyke Show. Television was dominated by idealized, picture-perfect housewives. Moore changed that image. Her wardrobe, especially her iconic capri pants, became a sensation because it felt real and approachable. She insisted that Laura be smart, witty, and equal to her husband, played by Dick Van Dyke. Moore won 2 Emmy Awards for the role and became a trendsetter for modern married women on TV. The show achieved critical and audience success, positioning Moore as one of America's favorite TV actresses. The Mary Tyler Moore Show, redefining women on television, debuting in 1970 during the rise of the women's movement. The Mary Tyler Moore Show was a cultural breakthrough. Mary Richards was single, not divorced or widowed, controversial at the time. Career-focused and financially independent. Surrounded by a workplace family instead of a husband and children. The show addressed subjects rarely spoken about on TV: birth control, sexism at work, newsroom ethics, always handled with humor and humanity. Its writing was sophisticated, subtle, and character-driven. The show didn't just entertain, it shifted perceptions. Feminist leaders praised it for portraying a woman who wasn't defined by marriage. Many female journalists have said the character inspired them to enter media. It became a blueprint for later female-led comedies like Murphy Brown, 30 Rock, and The Office. The show won 29 Emmy Awards, a record that stood for decades. Behind the camera, a female pioneer in production, Moore co-founded MTM Enterprises with her then-husband Grant Tinker. Their company became a powerhouse in television production, responsible for shows such as Rhoda the Bob Newhart Show, Hill Street Blues, Street Elsewhere. MTM's commitment to character-driven writing helped transform television storytelling. The studio also became known as a training ground for talented writers and producers who later revolutionized TV drama and comedy. Dramatic depth. Ordinary People, 1980. In Ordinary People, directed by Robert Redford, Moore took on a darker, emotionally complex role, far from her sunny TV persona. She portrayed Beth Jarrett, a grieving mother unable to express affection. Her performance earned her an Academy Award nomination, a Golden Globe nomination. Critics praised her range and subtle intensity. The film became a landmark in American cinema, showing that she was not just a sitcom legend, but a profound dramatic actress. Personal challenges and strength. Although Moore's public image was upbeat and cheerful, her personal life was marked by challenges. She was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at age 33. She struggled with alcoholism, which she later overcame. Her only child, Richard, died tragically in a firearm accident in 1980. Rather than retreat from public life, Moore channeled her pain into advocacy, activism, and philanthropy. Moore became an outspoken activist for juvenile diabetes research, JDRF, animal rights. She testified before the U.S. Congress, raising millions of dollars for diabetes research, and published memoirs detailing her struggles and triumphs. Awards and recognition. Over her long career, Moore received numerous honors, including 7 Emmy Awards, a Tony Award nomination, a Screen Actors Guild Life Achievement Award, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame when she died on January 25, 2017. Tributes poured in from across the entertainment world. Oprah Winfrey, Tina Fey, and countless others credited Moore with opening doors for them. Legacy. Mary Tyler Moore didn't just entertain, she changed culture. She showed that women could lead a show. She proved that comedy could be smart and socially relevant. She helped shape modern television production. Her famous hat toss in the opening sequence of The Mary Tyler Moore Show became a symbol of joyful independence. And the statue of that moment still stands in Minneapolis. She made it clear that women could make it after all. Expanding her television influence. MTM Enterprises' Mary Tyler Moore wasn't just the face of one of the most influential sitcoms of all time. She was the co-founder of a television studio that revolutionized the industry. Alongside her then-husband, Grant Tinker, she launched MTM Enterprises in 1969. What made MTM different? It emphasized smart, character-driven storytelling. It hired young talent and gave them creative freedom. It focused on quality over formula. MTM became known for shows that shaped American TV. MTM production legacy. The Mary Tyler Moore Show redefined the female lead character Rhoda. Phyllis. Early examples of successful spin-offs anchored by strong women. Hill Street Blues pioneered modern serialized drama. Influenced The Sopranos, The Wire. Street Elsewhere helped launch the careers of Denzel Washington and others. The Bob Newhart Show cemented MTM as a comic powerhouse. Many television historians consider MTM Enterprises the most influential TV production company of the 1970s and 1980s in terms of writing style and character development. Shows today still follow its blueprint. Mary Richards, a role that changed culture. Her character on The Mary Tyler Moore Show was revolutionary because she wasn't defined by romance or marriage. The show centered on her personal fulfillment and workplace relationships. She had agency, she chose her path. This was radical at the time. Many young women of the era wrote Moore letters saying, "I want to be like Mary Richards." Female professionals, journalists, anchors, executives, frequently credit the show for inspiring their careers. Even Oprah Winfrey told Moore, "You paved the way for me." Beyond the screen, stage and Broadway work. Moore also performed on Broadway, showing her versatility beyond television and film. Notable stage appearances include Whose Life Is It Anyway? 1980, earned a Tony nomination for Best Actress. Sweet Sue, 1987, a comedy allowing her to explore a different type of stage role. Her stage work surprised critics who knew her only as a sitcom star, proving her range as a performer. Writing and memoirs. Moore wrote 2 memoirs, After All, 1995, Open. Vulnerable look at her struggles with alcoholism, diabetes, and family loss. Growing Up Again, Life, Loves, and Oh Yeah, Diabetes. 2009, focused on her decades-long diabetes journey. Told with humor and brutal honesty, her writing became a lifeline for many readers dealing with illness or grief. Personal tragedies and resilience. Moore faced immense loss. Her sister Elizabeth died young. Her brother John died from cancer. Her only son, Richard, died from an accidental self-inflicted gunshot wound in 1980. Many would have withdrawn from the spotlight, she did not. Instead, she transformed her pain into advocacy. She became a leading activist for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, JDRF, and helped raise millions in research funding. Philanthropy and advocacy achievements. As JDRF's international chairperson, she testified before Congress, met with U.S. presidents, used her platform to push for medical breakthroughs. She also supported animal welfare organizations' arts funding addiction recovery efforts. Her activism was not just symbolic, it had measurable impact. Awards and honors. More detail. In addition to Emmy Awards and her Oscar nomination, she earned Screen Actors Guild Lifetime Achievement Award, 2012, Kennedy Center Honors Tribute, 1982, induction into the Television Hall of Fame. The American Film Institute ranked The Mary Tyler Moore Show as one of the best TV shows ever created. A bronze statue of her throwing her hat in the air, the opening scene of her sitcom, stands in Minneapolis, symbolizing freedom and optimism. Final years and passing in her later years. Moore suffered complications from diabetes and heart problems. She died on January 25, 2017, surrounded by family. Her final public appearance was at the 2012 SAG Awards, frail but elegant. Receiving a standing ovation, the entertainment world reacted with deep respect. Tributes came from Oprah Winfrey, Tina Fey, Carol Burnett, Dick Van Dyke. They all said the same thing. She changed television, and she changed lives. Legacy. What Mary Tyler Moore gave to the world. Mary Tyler Moore's legacy is cultural transformation. She proved that a woman could lead a successful TV show. She redefined sitcoms as places for thoughtful storytelling. She opened doors for generations of female performers. She faced grief, illness, and personal struggle, and chose purpose and advocacy. Mary didn't just make people laugh. She made people believe they could do something more with their lives. A quiet revolutionary. Moore and feminism. Mary Tyler Moore never set out to be a political figure. In fact, she once said, "I wasn't trying to do anything but be funny." However, women saw themselves in Mary Richards. This was the difference. Earlier TV heroines were wives or mothers. Mary Richards was a person. A single, working woman on TV wasn't just new, it was unheard of. Network executives were nervous. They worried audiences would reject a woman whose life didn't revolve around men or family. Moore insisted on portraying a character who didn't need a husband to validate her, had professional ambitions, sometimes failed, and tried again. That relatability empowered viewers. Gloria Steinem, a leader of the women's movement, said Mary Tyler Moore helped normalize the idea that women could choose themselves first. The emotional core of Mary Richards. Moore had a unique ability to play a woman who was strong, but vulnerable, confident, but insecure, independent, but longing for connection. Her performances were not exaggerated sitcom emotions. They were real and subtle, often with long silences or small gestures that felt intimate and human. One of the most famous sitcom moments in TV history is the Chuckles Bites the Dust episode, where Mary tries to maintain decorum at a clown's funeral but collapses into uncontrollable laughter. It won an Emmy because comedy and grief collided. Nothing about it felt forced. Moore's emotional control was extraordinary. The episode is still studied in film schools for comedic timing and emotional buildup. Leadership style. How she worked behind the camera. Cast members said Mary Tyler Moore had an uncanny ability to lead without raising her voice. Characteristics of her leadership. Prepared. She always knew her lines and the script inside out. Professional, she treated crew and writers with equal respect. Collaborative, she encouraged rewrites if a character moment didn't feel honest. Ed Asner, who played Lou Grant, said, Mary never tried to be the smartest person in the room, she just was. Writers often recalled that she'd fight for the emotional integrity of a scene, not for her ego. Pain behind the smile. While Mary Richards was joyful and optimistic, Mary Tyler Moore's real life was complicated. Private struggles included alcoholism, type 1 diabetes, the deaths of her siblings, the accidental death of her son at age 24. Moore later acknowledged that she sometimes hid behind humor, saying, "Recovery made me discover parts of myself I didn't know existed." Her honesty in interviews helped reduce stigma about addiction and grief. A deeper look at ordinary people. Her role as Beth Jarrett, a mother emotionally frozen after tragedy, was painfully close to her personal life. Director Robert Redford revealed, Mary wasn't acting, she was exposing something. Audiences were shocked. They had only known Moore as lovable, bright Mary Richards. Suddenly, she was brittle, cold, closed off, devastatingly real. Critics called it one of the best performances of the decade. private passions outside acting, Moore had interests that many fans never knew. She was an avid animal lover, rescuing horses and dogs. She practiced spiritual reflection and meditation later in life. She loved painting and sketching, finding peace away from cameras. She appreciated silence, a contrast to her life in entertainment. Final years, grace and acceptance. In her later years, complications from diabetes affected her vision and mobility. Yet, she continued her advocacy, showing up at medical fundraisers even when she could barely stand. When she received the SAG Lifetime Achievement Award in 2012, she said, "You've given me the greatest gift, the chance to be part of your lives." She meant it sincerely. For Moore, her relationship with audiences was personal. On January 25, 2017, she passed away with her husband and close friends at her bedside. Why she still matters. Mary Tyler Moore's influence remains alive in Tina Fey, 30 Rock, Mindy Kaling, The Mindy Project, Issa Rae, Insecure. Every female-led workplace comedy traces back to The Mary Tyler Moore Show. Without Mary Tyler Moore, there is no 30 Rock, The Office, Pam's Ark, Fleabag, or Parks and Recreation. She made it acceptable, even beautiful, to build a life defined by purpose, not expectation. Summary of her legacy: she redefined women on television. She changed the business of TV production. She overcame addiction, illness, and tragedy. She turned personal pain into activism. She inspired generations. Mary Tyler Moore didn't just play a trailblazer. She was one. Behind the scenes of The Mary Tyler Moore Show. The show wasn't just groundbreaking in content, it was groundbreaking behind the scenes. How the show almost never aired at first. Network executives rejected the idea of Mary Richards being a divorcee. They thought audiences would assume she had been divorced by Dick Van Dyke, a woman who chose career over marriage. To calm their fears, producers changed the character so she wasn't divorced. Instead, she was ending a long-term relationship. But they never changed the core idea. Mary Richards would pursue her life on her own terms. The writers' room. MTM Enterprises was known for having the smartest writers in television, and Mary had a lot to do with that. She insisted writers avoid cheap jokes. If a joke mocked a character or felt mean, she pushed back. Television historian David Bianculli said, "MTM shows didn't write jokes, they wrote people." Real-life parallels between Moore and Mary Richards. There's a bittersweet element to Moore's legacy. Mary Richards was confident, secure, and surrounded by a work family. Moore, in reality, was often lonely, struggling with addiction, grieving deeply. Dick Van Dyke described her as sad, elegant, brilliant, and fragile. Her real life lacked the emotional support that her fictional world offered. Relationship with co-stars. Mary had a special chemistry with her cast. Some dynamics. With Ed Asner, Lou Grant, deep mutual respect. He saw her as a boss long before she accepted herself as one. With Valerie Harper, Rhoda, best friends on screen. Their chemistry was so strong that Harper got her own spin-off. With Betty White, Sue Ann Nivens, total opposites in personality, but adored each other. Moore once joked that Betty had a filthy sense of humor disguised as wholesomeness. Mary Tyler Moore's perfectionism. She was known for demanding excellence of herself first. One writer said, "Mary could do something 100 times and she'd still want to do it better." Her perfectionism came from discipline. Dance training had taught her precision, attention to detail, timing. She brought that dancer's discipline to acting. The tragic turning point. Loss of her son. Her only son, Richard, died in 1980 in a firearm accident. Moore was filming Ordinary People at the time, a film about a mother grieving a lost son. The role became eerily personal. Robert Redford later said, "She didn't have to act. The pain was already there." Moore rarely discussed the trauma publicly, but those closest to her said the loss stayed with her for life. Elegance through illness. As diabetes progressed, Moore experienced partial blindness, retinopathy, neuropathy, nerve pain, multiple surgeries. Yet she rarely complained. She continued to testify before Congress about funding for diabetes research. Her philosophy: you can't be brave if you've only had wonderful things happen to you. Cultural aftershocks. Modern shows directly inspired by Mary Tyler Moore. 30 Rock Parks and Recreation. The Office, especially Pam's longtime arc. The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. The Mindy Project. Tina Fey said, "Mary didn't just open the door, she removed it." Iconography. The hat toss. The hat toss in the opening credits of The Mary Tyler Moore Show became a symbol of women having agency, optimism, the thrill of independence. Time magazine called it the moment women stepped into the workforce with joy. There is a statue in Minneapolis of Mary frozen in that pose, mid-spin, mid-laugh, mid-freedom. Private happiness. Later in life, Moore found peace in her third marriage to physician Dr. Robert Levine. He was younger than her, and people questioned the pairing. But he became her support system during the hardest years, and stayed with her until she died.
Bye bye. Thanks for watching. Bye.